Ay, 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 with your Mercury mouth in the missionary time, and your eyes like smoke, and your breath like wine, and your silver cross, and your voice like chimes. Oh, who do you think could bury you with your pockets well protected at last, and your streetcar business with your place on the grass, and your flesh like silk, and your face like glass? Who could they get to carry you? Sad lady of the lowlands, where the sad prophet says that no man comes. Where else lies my waiting ground? Should I leave and fight your gate? Lord, sad lady, should I leave? With your streets like metal and your bells like your death occur, missing the jack and the ace, and your basement closed, and your hollow face. Oh, among the pain, he could not guess you with your the sunlight down into your eyes, where the moonlight smiles, and your matchbox songs and your gypsy hair. Who among them tried to impress you? Sad lady of the road, where the sad prophet says that no man comes. My warehouse eyes, my Arabian drive. Oh, the kings of tyrants with their convict lists are waiting in line for their geranium kiss. And what do you know it was about like this? But if I realized to just kiss you with your childhood friends, your midnight run, and your Spanish pound, your mama's drugs, and your cowboy knives, and your curfew gloves. So how do you think could resist you? Said that lady of the road, well, the sad-eyed prophet says that my warehouse eyes, my Arabian drive. Should I leave them by your gate? Ah, sad-eyed lady, should I wait? Oh, the farmers and the businessmen, they all do decide to show you where the dead angels are that they used to hide. Oh, how did they pick you to sympathize with their side? How could ever mistake you? The blame for the farm when they see at your feet. The phone false alarm of a child of the hood, wrapped up in your arms. I've never persuaded you. Said I believe and I prophesy but I leave it by your gate. Oh, said I believe, should I wait? With your sheet momentum on carrying road and your magazine the one man just had to go, and your gentleness now, which you just can't help but show. Who am I? Do you think would have thought you would? Now you're stuck with your thief, you're on his parole, with your holy medallion in your fingertips blindfold, and your saint-like face and your ghost-like soul. Who among them could ever think he could destroy you? And I believe where the sad-eyed prophet said that outside my shall I leave them by your gate? Oh, shall I still window. Where do you go when it's not where you're going? How do you see when the light is not shining? Where you could be if you worked out the time. How does it feel when the world comes on so real and true? Do you do the things you do to you? If I were a king and you were a lady, what would I say to say what I'm saying? Would you believe that the verse is left open, hole in my sleeve? It's brown and it's blue. How does it feel when the world comes on so real and true? Do you do the things you do to you? Sell me a river, I'll skate away to the downstream, where we did play. So easy, my world, like a hill on the skyline, tripped up and blinded, get lost on the sideline. How does it feel when the world comes on so real and true? Do you do the things you do to you? How do you do the things you do to you? Sell me that river, and I'll skate away to the downstream, where we did play. So easy, mind you, like a hill on the skyline, tripped up and blinded, the sideline. How does it feel when the world comes on so real and true? Do you do the things you do to you? How do you do the things you do to you? How do you do the things you do to you? I'm by the Sally Gardens, my love and I did. We passed the Sally Garden, she with her snow white face. She made me take love easy as the grass grows on the way. But I've been young and full, she with her dead mind and the field down by the river, my love and I did stand, and on my left shoulder she placed her snow white hand. She bid me take life easy as the leaf goes on the tree. That I've been young and full, take love easy as the grass grows on the blade. But I've been young before the shall now fall free. How you doing, friends? Greetings. How you doing? All the best to all. It's lucky I bus because not in play. So I'm continuously a lot because I could take it out of you. So cheers, my friends. Let me just wet the whistle, as they say. Very interesting term. But yeah, how you doing? I hope everything came through okay there. I think it did. I just assume it does. I don't listen back to the Hangouts generally because I'm here playing them, and for the most part, that sounded okay to me. If I was to produce that, you know what I mean? If I was to go into the studio and make a version of that with lots of different instruments, I have a keyboard next to me here. You heard the harmonica and guitar. Definitely imagine and definitely imagine a beautiful woman's voice as well in play. Because if you think about don't get me started on the nature. I'm just talking about the third song there. Pretty much all the songs actually, but the third song is specific. It's by WBH down by the Sally Gardens, and the Sally Gardens is when you go downwards, right? And well, there's a love interest involved, but yeah, in the studio, I could definitely, well, imagine a whole lot more going on. Let me put it that way. So yeah, I just came on tonight to sing a few songs. The first song I opened up with, not just to sing a few songs, but the first song I opened up with was Sada. Well, if anyone knows, because how are we going to sort of search for that I song? What are you going to get? But if anyone knows the artist or the song itself, and I'm sure you will help me out here. And I'm sure if I fucking went to enough trouble to find it, but I sing it out the window here most nights. I think, well, especially when I have a few beers. My mother got a whole new set of windows in, and I can see everywhere, windows on the world. But yeah, as far as I remember, it's back from the '90s somewhere, and from the video, I remember this Indian guy overlooking, definitely wrong, or I'm not stuck to this, but he's overlooking a massive canyon, and he's singing yeah, yeah. So that's all I know about it, and I found it once or twice, and I just I never, and I know there's a whole other song that continues on and it jumps in in the meantime. But beyond that, that's what I opened up with. And if you know the name of that song or artist, please post it. And well, please come on and sing it. Let me put the link in the chat. Please come on and sing it. At this stage, there's no specific topic I can talk about, because if I start getting specific, then I could potentially start talking for hours on end, and especially if I have sort of an audience in mind who may not be, and definitely are not where I'm at in my thinking. So from my point of view, I've expressed most of it here anyway. Well, I don't know how many hangouts this is, or shows, whatever you want to call them. Maybe 177, I think, the last count, but it could be 180 at this stage, which would be cool. But yeah, I've expressed myself, I should think, in as honest a manner as possible. I can't swear by that as well. It depends on what we start talking about and to what level we get into. But anything I have talked about, I should hope. Well, I hold myself accountable anyway. And you have the evidence before you. You can look. Anyone there has a problem with me. You can look back on everything I've ever said, and you can say, "There you go, saying that. How are you going to defend yourself?" I'll go. Let me have a look at it. What's the claim against me? And then I will either defend what I have to say coherently and cogently, or else I will put my hands up and say, well, I'm wrong about that, either overtly or, not necessarily at the time. It was an opinion that I came to change my mind about later, that sort of thing. So anybody listening to me now, you have the advantage on me, you know what I mean? So I can't base what I sort of say or what direction I go with in terms of who may or may not be listening. So anyway, the opening song, and I sang it before, but I don't think did I sing it with harmonica? I probably did a few months ago, or maybe a year ago or beyond, when I retook up the harmonica again. I'm missing the central key, but I went back. I have 3 harmonicas now. They're fucking €18. Excuse my language. They're a brilliant edition, but they're €18 and they're made in China. And the central C key keeps going. So if I go, so there's a missing key. So any gaps in there, I'm not going to blame it on that at all, really. It's a great thing for 18, €20, but they certainly don't last that long, and nothing lasts that long these days. And for a busker as well, I guess, when you're blaring, you're really blasting it through it, and you think about the mechanism itself. And actually, not that they're not so easily fixed as well. All you need is a little mini file, a little screwdriver to take off the top, and understanding that when a note gets flat, it's a little, very thin disc. What would you call it? It's like a monolith, but a very thin, sort of rectangular shaped piece, reed, as we call them, and it's just flapping, right? And it's just honed exactly into a certain note, a certain frequency. So when it goes sharp or flat, it means you have to shave off a little bit at the top if it goes flat. So it's easier for it to vibrate with the same input, right? And if it goes flat, then you have to do the opposite at the bass end. Shave off a little bit there. But that's okay. I haven't got the tools as usual, but yeah, so I can't complain really. I'm not complaining, but you might be complaining as a listener because I don't listen back to myself. I'm here. I play music. I was in busking. I was going to go in busking today. I'll go in tomorrow. Definitely, I have to go in definitely tomorrow. So I'm just said it to myself. But today it's a stormy day out. It's a massively stormy day out. So yeah, tempestuous. Storm is a brewing and it's bound to fall soon. But the first song, Sad-Eyed Lady from the Lowlands. Yeah, very good. Excellent song, and I hope it came across okay. That was take 1. I haven't sang that in ages, and yeah, it was reasonable with a fully functioning harmonica and a little production as well. Yeah, I'm sure very differing. Well, along the same lines, but a more polished final performance. But that's not what this is all about. It's not a performance, right? So as I do these hangouts, I'm just having a chat ultimately to myself, and I realize it. Well, more and more as I go on, all there is the now. There is the now, and what our brain makes of the now. Ultimately, your body, but ultimately as well, you can lose your body. Paraplegics. You can lose what can you afford to lose and still be yourself is a question we should all ask. You have time enough to ask it, don't you? You had your whole life to ask it. Where does everything stem from? I can get a new heart and still remain the same, although it is said that yeah, you could acquire, or maybe you do acquire, some of the characteristics of the donor, which is a very interesting avenue of investigation. Of course, we know pretty much everything we're told is flipped on its head. So all of the certainty and surety of science, with the backing of all of the giants of science, not just from the present time, but from all of history combined. Yeah, that's a tough behemoth for you as an individual to go up against, isn't it? But fuck it. A child could handle that. Ask a child, are you moving on the ground? They know it. Give me a swing. I gave Molly a swing there a few weeks ago, but give me a swing. They know when they're moving. We know when they're moving. We never lose it. Or inner ear. Even if you're 1 degree off in your shoe, you know the woman with their high heels. You know exactly how much you need to balance to cater for that variation from the horizontal. Right. So it's innate. It's intuitive within us. Our most refined sense, actually, our sense of horizontal, almost absolute horizontal. I wonder has there been tests done actually? So that'd be a good idea, wouldn't it? Actually, if you think about, well, prove what you're saying. So I would say, okay, let me think about it. So you have one of those running tracks or something. You have them in your house and you can run the spot. But if you incline it at 45 degrees, you keep varying. Obviously, everyone's going to know to a certain degree, 45, 30, 20, 15, 10. At what point will you press the red button and say, well, this is horizontal to the best of my reckoning, like a sort of trying to stop a stopwatch exactly on 0.00. Do you know what I mean? That would be an interesting thing, and it would be a sort of test on, and I guess the participant, the guinea pig, and is that would be blindfolded and earplugged, because you're well, even though the sense of balance is connected with the ear, but you know what I mean. Shut off all other senses. Maybe confuse them as much as you can, and let them know the experiment in the first. And you know what I mean. It's a brilliant idea now. But yeah, anyway. The second song I sang, and I'm actually forgetting the third song. So the third song, which I was just talking about, was a fill-in song, because I had the other song in my mind, and I suddenly lost it after the first two songs. The second song was by a band called Ocean Colours Scene, and a lovely song. I love singing that to the top of my voice. In the streets of Limerick, I have a set place across the road from the place I used to, because they're digging up the whole street. They're doing what they do here. Everything is going according to a sort of an outside plan, an external plan. What effect the individual can have, well, that's down to you to decide, I guess. But everything is certainly going ahead according to some sort of greater plan that doesn't just span decades. They didn't just think about taking down the buildings in 9/11 20 or 15 or 100 years beforehand. No, it was always in play. And, well, sort of that greater, or I guess more limited context. I suppose it depends on what your context is in the first place. As a flat earther coming away from, um, well, that certitude, right? That scientific faith. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? We like to think the best of people, and intuitively, we sort of think, well, the bigger the lie, the harder it would be to get away with. The more people you'd need to have cooperating on your side to pull off the lie. And because we intuitively know that it's not in our nature to be that way, we sort of reject it. So we go along with, well, what do we go along with? Viscerally, we go along with, well, the story presented, the mainstream story. But we have to remember the internet is only given to us pretty much 20 years. So again, within a different context, perhaps we find ourselves within a differing arena entirely. Everything you ever thought was so true, based upon, how do you feel about it all being overthrown? Yeah, the third song, yeah, second song, Ocean Color Scene, and how does it feel? I guess I don't know. What's maybe the name of the band? Yeah. How does it feel? I don't know. Mid 90s, I guess. Anyway, 97, I would guess, if I was pushed. So you'll find that. But a very good song. I used to singing that full blast in the streets of Limerick. And the third song then was the filler song because I had another song in mind, and I placed it in my mind because I have three songs to sing, and the minute it comes to me, you can be sure that I'm going to sing it. Let me put the link in chat. Straight away. If Dell is in chat, join tonight, bud. I mean, we're 11 o'clock. I'm not going to risk the old suitcase method of smoking a joint anymore. I got into trouble with that. It didn't work, and I knew it wouldn't work. I was smoking downwards, and smoke, of course, rises upwards, and I fucked up. And I paid the price. But anyway, I'm all right. I'm all right. I live to tell another. I live to talk another tale. I live to talk another tale. There's a storm of brewing. If you're listening, Dell, there's a storm of brewing. Well, not a brewing, it's a boiling outside, and I'm sure maybe it's similar in your neck of the woods. Ireland's a very small country, but yeah. Let me just say welcome. There should be some interesting things to chat about tonight, so take it easy. There's a link in chat. Everyone is free to join. My Steve, if you're listening, join. I'll deal with it, my love. I'll give you the biggest hug in existence. I actually think over the internet anyway. I actually think I broke the internet tonight. If you go back to I actually think I broke the world tonight. I actually think I did. So I had the YouTube channel on and the StreamYard channel on, and I was recording into the StreamYard channel with and I forgot to mute the YouTube channel. But here's a kicker. Yeah, I sang away, and then I heard the echo, and it sounded good actually, the echoing. So I kept it going until I went back to the YouTube channel after I stopped singing then, and tried to stop it or pause it at an appropriate time for the song to end. But I got confused, I think, and it was still going. So I said I better leave it continue to end here at YouTube, and it kept going. It kept going, and it just kept going over and over again. And unless I pressed the mute button on YouTube, that would have kept going and going and going, even though I wasn't playing any instrument. So how does that happen? And that's a fucking conundrum now. Anyone, I might listen back to that if I think about it, but that's a conundrum. That's why I was staring and all at the screen. What's going on here? I think I broke the world. I think I broke all logic, all rationale in terms of how to explain that, because it would have kept going on and on. It's caught in an infinity loop. If I just sat there and did nothing, it would just kept going on and on and on and on forever. And that's why eventually I pressed the mute button on YouTube. So do you understand the scenario there? That's mad. That is mad. That is mad as anything. And I really think I broke the world. Although I broke the world ages ago with ARISTARCHUS, so that's all right. If I think of that song, I should think of it now at the window. In the meantime, I'll let you know. I'm back with a new jacket. I'm Jack and I'm back. Not a new jacket, an old jacket. But I was thinking maybe if I put on this jacket, which I meant to do anyway, it would remind me of the song that I was definitively going to sing as the third song. So maybe that'll come to me in a bit. Yeah, how you doing? Let me say to people in chat, hello, and Doom, how you doing, man? I don't know you from the last time, so let me go straight into the chat. I have a habit of sort of, uh, it's not that I'm ignoring anybody. It's sort of very difficult in the sense, for the most part here, I'm talking to myself. No one listens to me. And the minute I say anything controversial, I had a fight, nearly a fight with someone today. I wouldn't shake his hand. Gary was his name. I remembered his name because it's the same as my son's family name, which is Gary. Sarah Gary being his mom. One second. Anyway, um, yeah, where was I? Yeah, no, I had a fight with a guy today. There's a word we can't mention here, or it's not that we can't mention Corona. I mean, do what you want. I was thinking, what influence do I have on anyone else's body? Not to mind their mind or their being. Follow your own heart, follow your own mind, and do what you do. Anything I have to say about Corona is from my own particular point of view, but I understand I'm in a limited, restricted arena, which is fair enough. You know, nothing is for free in this life, in a sense. And if you think about these facilities that are given us, are wondrous beyond measure. So that's fair enough, and especially in terms of what I really think is going on with Corona. So as I look out tonight, I can see the owner, the light of heaven, the green light, and well, is it upon us? Hmm. You decide. What do you see out your window? So anyway, Dom, yeah, the first time I saw you last night, you're or Doom, sorry. Yeah, you're probably on an umpteen soccer account. Feel free to join. We put the link in chat again. But you asked a question about the moon. I gave you an explanation, and actually, in the meantime, I've been listening, sort of half listening anyway, to the audiobook of 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's very interesting for me. And Clavius came up, and I say that they placed the moon base at Clavius for very particular reasons. Because the most obvious example that we're dealing with reflective artifacts, and I went through that last time because I've been through that many times before. But uh, yeah, feel free to join if you like, and we can chat about whatever you like. Otherwise, I'll just continue what I'm doing. I'm trying hard, really trying hard to think of that song. The minute I think of that, you can be sure I'm going to sing it. Because it definitely involved harmonica, and well, I have no agenda. Uh, Let me start talking about something which, well, is always pertinent. I mentioned it last time about a topic, just a question itself. What is Earth? We know what Earth isn't. It is a spinning ball through space, right? I mean, I've said it to, well, I said it to at least one guy today, which is Adrian. But I say it to people after, right? So it's the same sort of initial point of introduction. Let me ask you a question. Um, I asked a woman today, for instance, or I asked her today, do you think Corona is real? I asked the woman in the post office today, Mary, um, Did you see the Eurovision during the week where everyone was around in a big auditorium? No one was wearing masks. Everyone was smiling, joking, drinking away, and all next to one another. What was going on there? And I said, someone seems to be taking the piss. But that's okay. Follow your doctor's advice, right? Follow your own advice. A physician can't heal those he knows. Isn't that one of the sayings from the Gospel of Thomas? Where a prophet isn't recognized in his own environment and own time. But yeah, I could go on for ages about the moon doom. And in a nutshell, that's how I present it. In a nutshell, we're looking at everything in the sky as a reflected artifact of something that is expressing from the ground. So every question I ask, what is Earth, for instance, as flat earthers, we, if pushed, can expand and expound to, well, whatever detail we can expand and expound to and into. You know, you tell me. You tell me. To understand that the Earth is not, getting back to the point, to understand that the Earth is not a spinning ball as given is basic. It's a fundamental sort of realization. But what is Earth is another thing. When we say Earth is flat and stationary, we're describing an attribute of something. When you say table is flat and stationary, well, you're incorrect. It's illogic because a table has a certain definition, and it's not just a surface top. There are other component parts, and it's these component parts which make up the whole. So it's the words that are important, and this is how they trick. It's not how they tricked us. This is the game of life. It's we're always meant to come by life. Lie is within life. We're always meant to come to the truth via the lie, but it's about defining exactly what Earth is in your own mind, coming to terms or coming to an agreement, if you're going to extend beyond your own mind, someone you're talking to, on what Earth is, what these basic concepts are. And the more basic concept, well, the more significant, the more fundamental. Earth, creator. Notice how close crater is to creator, which, well, brings us back to the moon as our nearest and dearest neighbor and our biggest clue giver as flat earthers, as the stationary Earth surface that we live on is set. No scientific or otherwise proof that the Earth's surface we live on moves at all. Once we establish that, well, something moves to give us what seems to move above us, which moves in unison, in tandem as well. So, yeah, is that a part of Earth? When someone is saying Earth moves, are they encompassing that sort of frame of thinking? So, it's an interesting question. Let me just go on mute a second here and have another cigarette at the window and close it then because there's pressure on to close the window because the burglars are going to be coming in from all sides. But yeah, what is Earth? Anyone brave enough to answer that question? You can do it in chat or you can do it, you can come in as well. I posted the link a few times. So actually, in the meantime, let me do something. Let me post something I think is very significant. Share my screen. Okay. I share entire screen and audio. And I've played this before, but I'm happy to play it again and again and again and again and again. Now let me go to. There we go.
The Secret Book of James.
Right, I hope that's coming through okay. So let me just clarify that again. Please listen to this as we make our way through the clues and through the layers up the levels of the pyramid. Yeah, the Gospel of Thomas and its 114 sayings. One particular saying sticks out, and that is when the disciples asked Jesus where should they go when he departs, and he said, "Whatever you do, seek out James, uh, for whose sake heavens and the earth came into being. So this is the secret book of James. And let me just give another point of view. When he talks about being filled, think in terms of male and female being divided, torn apart from one. The tar from the male in male pools in the testicles, the tar in the female pools in the breasts. So this is about the emptiness and the filling. This is about the shadow and the extension, right? This is about well, this is us. This is our story. So let me play that. And
The secret book, or Apocryphon, of James is a text presented rather like the letter of Peter to Philip, within the frame of an introductory letter, as a secret book with sayings of Jesus that his followers remembered. According to the text, this is the second such secret book that James sent. The letter of James is addressed to someone whose name is preserved imperfectly in the papyrus, with only the final three letters, in Coptic or Greek, visible. Some scholars have suggested the name or the recipient of the letter may be restored to designate Cerinthus, a Christian teacher who flourished in the early 2nd century and who proclaimed a Christology similar to the view of Jesus in the secret book of James. The secret book of James. James writes to, "Peace be with you from peace, love from love, grace from grace, faith from faith, life from holy life." James' secret books. You have asked me to send you a secret book revealed to Peter and me by the Master, and I could not turn you down, nor could I speak to you. So I have written in Hebrew, and have sent it to you and to you alone. But since you are a minister of the salvation of the saints, try to be careful not to reveal to many people this book that the Savior did not want to reveal even to all of us, his 12 students. Nonetheless, those who will be saved through the faith of this treatise will be blessed. 10 months ago, I sent you another secret book that the Savior revealed to me. Think of that book as revealed to me, James. But this one, Jesus addresses Peter and James. Now the 12 students were all sitting together, recalling what the Savior had said to each of them, whether in a hidden or an open manner, and organizing it in books. I was writing what is in my book. Look, the Savior appeared after he had left us while we were watching for him. 550 days after he rose from the dead, we said to him, "Did you depart and leave us?" Jesus said, "No, but I shall return to the place from which I came. If you want to come with me, come." They all answered and said, "If you order us, we shall come." He said, "I tell you the truth, no one will ever enter the kingdom of heaven because I ordered it, but rather because you yourselves are filled. Leave James and Peter to me, that I may fill them." When he called the two of them, he took them aside and commanded the rest to keep doing what they were doing. The Savior said, "You have been treated kindly, have not been understood. Do you not want to be filled? Your hearts are drunk. Do you not want to be sober? You ought to be ashamed. From now on, awake or sleep, remember that you have seen the human Son, and have spoken with him and have listened to him. Shame on those who have seen the human Son. Blessings will be on you who have not seen him, or associated with him, or spoken with him, or listened to anything from him. Yours is life. Understand that he healed you when you were sick, that you might reign. Shame on those who have found relief from their sickness, for they will relapse into sickness. Blessings on you who have not been sick, and have known relief before getting sick. The kingdom of God is yours. So I tell you, be filled and leave no space in you empty, or he who is coming will mock you. Being filled and lacking. Then Peter answered, "Look, 3 times you have told us, be filled, but we are filled." The Savior answered and said, "For this reason I have told you, be filled, that you may not lack. Those who lack will not be saved. To be filled is good, and to lack is bad. Yet since it is also good for you to lack, but bad for you to be filled, whoever is filled also lacks. One who lacks is not filled in the way another who lacks is filled, but whoever is filled is brought to an appropriate end. So you should lack when you can fill yourselves, and be filled when you lack, that you may be able to fill yourselves more. Be filled with spirit, but lack in reason, for reason is of the soul. It is soul. Believe in my cross. I answered and said to him, Master, we can obey you if you wish, for we have forsaken our fathers and our mothers and our villagers and followed you. Give us the means not to be tempted by the evil devil. The master answered and said, What good is it to you if you do the Father's will? But you are not given your part of his bounty when you are tempted by Satan. But if you are oppressed by Satan and persecuted and do the Father's will, I say he will love you, make you my equal, and consider you beloved through his forethought, and by your own choice. Won't you stop loving the flesh and fearing suffering? Don't you know that you have not yet been abused, unjustly accused, locked in prison, unlawfully condemned, crucified without reason, or buried in the sand, as I myself was by the evil one? Do you dare to spare the flesh, O you for whom the Spirit is walls surrounding you? If you consider how long the world has existed before you, and how long it will exist after you, you will see that your life is but a day, and your suffering an hour. The good will not enter the world. Disdain death, then, and care about life. Remember my cross and my death, and you will live. I answered and said to him, Master, do not mention to us the cross and the death, for they are far from you. The master answered and said, I tell you the truth, none will be saved unless they believe in my cross, for the kingdom of God belongs to those who have believed in my cross. Be seekers of death then, like the dead who seek life, for what they seek becomes apparent to them, and what is there to cause them concern? As for you, when you search out death, it will teach you about being chosen. I tell you the truth, no one afraid of death will be saved, for the kingdom of death belongs to those who are put to death. Become better than I. Be like the child of the Holy Spirit. Be eager for the word. Then I asked, Master, can we prophesy to those who ask us to prophesy to them? There are many who bring a request to us and look to us to hear our pronouncement. The master answered and said, Do you not know that the head of the prophecy was cut off with John? But I said, Master, is it not impossible to remove the head of prophecy? The master said to me, When you realize what head means, and that prophecy comes from the head, then understand the meaning of its head was removed. First I spoke with you in parables, and you did not understand. Now I am speaking with you openly, and you do not grasp it. Nevertheless, you were for me a parable among parables, and a disclosure among things revealed. Be eager to be saved without being urged. Rather be fervent of your own, and if possible, outdo even me, for this is how the Father will love you. Come to hate hypocrisy and evil intention. Intention becomes hypocrisy, and hypocrisy is far from truth. Do not let the kingdom of heaven wither away. It is like a palm shoot whose dates dropped around it. It produces buds, and after they grew, its productivity dried up. This is also what happened with fruit that came from the single root. After it was harvested, fruit was obtained by many. It certainly was good. Is it not possible to produce a new growth now, and for you to find it? Since I was glorified, like this once before, why do you hold me back when I am eager to go? After my labor, you have made me stay with you another 18 days because of the parables. For some people it was enough to listen to the teaching understood. The shepherds, the seed, the building, the lamps of the young women, the wage of the workers, and the silver coins in the woman. Be eager for the word. The first aspect of the word is faith. The second is love. The third is works, and from these comes life. The word is like a grain of wheat. When someone sowed it, he had faith in it, and when it sprouted, he loved it, because he saw many grains instead of just one. And after he worked, he was saved because he prepared it as food, and he still kept some out to sow. This is also how you can acquire the kingdom of heaven for yourself. Unless you acquire it through knowledge, you will not be able to find it. Understand the light. So I say to you, be sober, do not go astray. And often have I said you all together, and also to you alone, James, be saved. I have commanded you to follow me, and I have taught you how to speak before the rulers, so that I have come down and have spoken, and have become exerted myself, and have won my crown when I saved you. I came down to live with you, so you might also live with me. And when I found that your houses had no roofs, I lived in houses that could receive me when I came down. Trust me, my brothers, understand what the great light is. The Father does not need me. A father does not need a son, but it is the Son who needs the Father. To him I am going, for the Father of the Son is not in need of you. Listen to the word, understand knowledge, love life, and no one will persecute you, and no one will oppress you other than you yourselves. Shame on you, blessings on you. You wretches, you losers, you pretenders to truth, you falsifiers of knowledge, you sinners against the Spirit. Do you still dare to listen when from the beginning you should have been speaking? Do you still dare to sleep when from the beginning you should have been awake so the kingdom of heaven might receive you? I tell you the truth, it is easier for a holy person to sink into defilement and for an enlightened person to sink into darkness than for you to reign or not to reign. I remember your tears, your mourning, and your grief. They are far from us. You who are outside the Father's inheritance, weep when you should, mourn and preach what is good, as is proper, the Son is ascending. I tell you the truth, if I had been sent to those who would listen to me and had spoken with them, I would never have come down to earth. Now be ashamed. Look, I shall be leaving you and go away. I do not want to stay with you any longer, just as you yourselves have not wanted this. Follow me quickly, I tell you. For you I came down. You are loved ones. You will bring life to many people. Invoke the Father. Pray to God frequently, and he will be generous with you. Blessings on one who has seen you with him, when he is proclaimed among the angels and glorified among the saints. Yours is life. Rejoice and be glad as children of God. Observe his will, that it may be saved. Accept correction from me and save yourselves. I am meditating for you with the Father, and he will forgive you many things. Few find the kingdom of heaven. When we heard this, we were delighted. We had become gloomy because of what we said earlier, but when we saw us happy, he said, "Shame on you who are in need of an advocate. Shame on you who stand in need of grace. Blessings will be on those who have spoken out and acquired grace for themselves. Compare yourself to foreigners. How are they viewed in your city? Why are you anxious to banish yourselves on your own and distance yourself from your city? Why abandon your dwelling on your own and make it available for those who want to live in it? O you exiles and runaways, shame on you. You will be captured." Or maybe you think that the Father is a lover of people, or that he is won over by prayers, or that he is gracious to one because of another, or that he tolerates whoever is seeking. He knows about desire and what the flesh needs. Does it not desire the soul? The body does not sin apart from the soul, just as the soul is not saved apart from the spirit. But if the soul is saved from evil, then the spirit too is saved. The body becomes sinless. The spirit animates the soul, but the body kills it. The soul kills itself. I tell you the truth, he will never forgive the sin of the soul or the guilt of the flesh, for none of those who have worn the flesh will be saved. Do you think that many have found the kingdom of heaven? Blessings on one who has seen oneself as a fourth one in heaven. Know yourselves. When we heard this, we became sad. But when he saw that we were sad, he said, "I say this to you that you may know yourselves. The kingdom of heaven is like a head of grain that sprouted into a field, and when it was ripe, it scattered its seed. And again it filled the field with heads of grain for another year. So with you, be eager to harvest for yourselves a head of grain of life, that you may be filled with the kingdom. As long as I am with you, pay attention to me and trust in me. But when I am afar from you, remember me. And remember me because I was with you and you did not know me. Blessings will be on those who have known me. Shame on those who have heard and have not believed. Blessings will be on those who have not seen but yet believe. And once again I appeal to you. I am disclosed to you as I am building a house useful to you when you find shelter in it, and it will support your neighbor's house when there is threats to collapse. I tell you the truth, shame on those for whom I was sent down here. Blessings will be on those who are going up to the Father. Again I warn you, you who are, be like those who are not, that you may be with those who are not. Do not let the kingdom of heaven become a desert within you. Do not be proud because of the light that enlightens. Rather act toward yourselves as I myself have toward you. I have put myself under a curse for you to save you. The last word. Peter responded to these comments and said, "Sometimes you urge us toward the kingdom of heaven, but at other times you turn us away, Master. Sometimes you encourage us, draw us toward faith and promise of life, but at other times you drive us away from the kingdom of heaven." The Master answered and said to us, "I have offered you faith many times and have revealed myself to you, James, and you have not known me. Now I see you often rejoicing, and although you are delighted about the promise of life, you are sad and gloomy when you are taught about the kingdom. Nevertheless, you through faith and knowledge have received life, so disregard rejection when you hear it. But when you hear about the promise, be joyful all the more. I tell you the truth, whoever will receive life and believe in the kingdom will never leave it, not even if the Father wants to banish him. This is all I shall tell you at this time. Now I shall ascend to the place from which I have come. When I was eager to go, you have driven me off, and instead of accompanying me, you have chased me away. Be attentive to the glory that awaits me, and when you have opened your hearts, listen to the hymns that await me up in heaven. Today I must take my place at the right hand of my Father. I have spoken my last word to you. I shall depart from you, for a chariot of spirit has carried me up, and from now on I shall strip, that I may be clothed. Pay attention. Blessings on those who have proclaimed the Son before he come down, so that when I did come, I might ascend. Blessing 3 times over those who were proclaimed by the Son before they came into being, so that they might share with him. The messengers dispersed. When he said this, he left. We knelt down, Peter and I, and gave thanks and sent our hearts up to heaven. We heard with our ears and saw with our eyes a noise of wars, a trumpet blast, and a great turmoil. When we passed beyond that place, we sent out our minds up further. We saw with our eyes and heard with our ears hymns, angelic praises, and angelic rejoicing. Heavenly majesties were singing hymns, and we rejoiced too. Again, after this, we wished to send our spirits up to the majesty. When we ascended, we were not allowed to see or hear anything. The other students called to us and asked, "What did you hear from the teacher? What did he tell you? Where did he go?" We answered them, "He ascended. He gave us his right hand and promised all of us life. He showed us children coming after us, having commanded us to love them, since we are to be saved for their sakes." When they heard this, they believed the revelation, but they were angry about those who would be born. Not wishing to give them reason to take offense, I sent each of them to a different location. I myself went up to Jerusalem, praying that I might acquire a share with the loved ones who are to come. I pray that the beginning may come from you. This is how I can be saved. They will be enlightened through me, by my faith, and through another's that is better than mine. I wish mine to be the lesser. Do your best to be like them, and pray that you may acquire a share with them. Beyond what I have said, the Savior did not disclose any revelation to us on their behalf. We proclaim a share with those for whom the messenger was proclaimed, those whom the Lord has made his children.
I'm back again. Feels like I've never been away from here. Guess fell out of the cupboard when I was sneaking a smoke inside. I decided the suitcase method from the last time is no good, no good. Unless I'm sort of going to be upside down, and that's no good for viewing as well. I mean, not good enough for smoking because all the smoke would fill up in the suitcase. Sort of seal it up then and put a straw in anytime you wanted. A better idea again is to combine that idea with in the wardrobe itself. So you're sort of doubly containing the weed. And if you leave it there for a while, then, maybe an hour or two, maybe it intensifies, nothing else to do, it just mingles with itself. And you have a straw, like a toke of a bong. That's a good idea. I've had some good ideas in my time. I share them. I try to share everything openly. I really do, actually. I mean, anything you want to ask me, any question at all, I'll answer it openly and honestly. One of the best ideas I've ever had, the most simplest of ideas. And how many people are listening? 3 people. Okay. Well, maybe it'll occur to one of you next time you're down at the beach with your other half or your partner or whatever, and your children, whatever the story is. When you're just bored, you're looking for things to do. Well, every beach has rocks, especially up towards the shore level or the boundary. And if not, well, whatever, find a beach, but dig a hole, whatever diameter you like, pretty small enough, to make it pretty difficult, and dig it down a little bit deep, like a golfing green hole, but just a little bit wider, a little bit deeper. Gather yourself 10 stones you're comfortable with, hand-sized stones or whatever you choose yourself, and create a sort of a distance, like a cricket ball distance, whatever distance you're comfortable with, and challenge from your daughter of 2 years of age to your granny of 92 to a game of pot rocks. So I call it that, pot rocks. So brilliant, and and you can involve as many people as you like. But the idea is so simple and brilliant. I'm sure it has to be thought of before, but I never I never heard of it, and it occurred to me. And it's so simple and it's so free. And we've all been on holidays where, what are you going to do next? Well, let's get onto the beach and take in the sun. Okay, well, brilliant. And especially if you have children as well. We went up with children. I was going to have 5 children. Um, but yeah, I'm going to get in another song. This is what fell out of the cupboard, if that's what you call that. A sole, right? The sole of a shoe. And I was thinking, I don't care what, and if you listen to that, for me, so many things. I was going to stop it at so many points. I really was, because pretty much not pretty much everything, so much of what I've been thinking and the sort of conclusions I'm coming to or towards anyway, sort of hit home there. And especially when you talked about a parable within a parable, which is Jesus talking to Peter and James there. So we're to pick up on that. And like the book of Revelations, count the number of times he mentions come or came in the last whatever 2 or 3 minutes. Um, yeah, this is all about us ourselves. This is all about our and forefather as well. The four, so as opposed to just God the Father, the forefather, we have a double nature to us, right? So we're split into our female and male counterparts. When our brain is extended outwards. So when he talks about the wheat in the field, as it sprouts outwards and creates other, this is you creating children, your son or your daughter. So very interesting words. How do we connect the son and the son? Is there tangibility to it all that we can relate to? There has to be. This is the story of all of us, so a child can understand the story. And well, where do we all come from, right? Where do we all come from? Before the Gospel of Thomas, I mentioned the divided state of us and the tar pooling, the spinal fluid, whatever you want to call that, vital fluids. The tar is good because we are S-tar. S is the divided state. Consider the words ever, never, and sever. We are born into sin because we are severed from the ever, right? We're outside of time. We're put into this scenario where we're bounded by time and space. I'm talking, like, who am I talking to here? I'm talking to, first of all, did anyone answer my question about what is Earth? I'm talking to not necessarily flat earthers, but people who have definitely moved beyond the basics, I should think. But not necessarily so as well. Not necessarily so. Anyone tuning in here for the first time and you're listening to this guy on screen saying to you that, well, your true nature is vastly differing from what you think it is. But I can't be certain of that as well because I don't know what you think it is. I don't know who you are. But if we look at the scientific paradigm, if we jump on the backs of the giants of science and ride our way through, woohoo, well then we find ourselves in a certain fixed, cemented position. So you got to share your point of view with me, and let's see where we come out. Otherwise, me being here, I'm just expressing where I've come in terms of my thinking. So yeah, the gospel of the secret gospel, or not the gospel, the secret book of James, not a gospel, the secret book of James. This is what I hold, and I hope now more than ever. That was 16 minutes. What was it? 16 minutes 55 long. I was a long listened to, and I'm absolutely delighted I listened to it. I remind myself so often that remember all of this stuff. Try and remember everything that's going on. I'm not talking about my encounters with people. I remember those sort of innately. I'm talking about these differing thoughts because you can get distracted so easily. But ultimately, I think everything does connect and everything goes in there. Or, a better way of putting it is everything that does go in there awakens everything that's in there already. That's a better way of putting it. We're greater than the material. So when you think about the secret book of James there in relation to our own natures, he points it out so often, Jesus does. Now you're going to say, what are you going to say is a, what are you going to say is a, what, a Bible literalist? What are you going to say as an atheist? None of this stuff counts. Say what you like, man. Say what you like. Stuff counts or it doesn't count. Make what you will of it. When you're involved with an organized grouping, though, who have a sort of collective way of thinking, that's a problem. And we were always meant to see through the Bible literalists here on flat Earth. Um, that's a different matter. Right? Getting back to the basic, I'll try to break things down to the most basic levels, which is what Jesus was trying to do there. Ultimately, telling some people are looking to him for answers, and we know it's all a scenario presented. Right? Jesus never existed. Peter never existed. James never existed. Jesus never. Like I did today, I was talking to somebody. He never took someone aside and said, "Come on, James," and let the other, what was it, 10 apostles go. Hey, where are Peter and James going with the master there? What's going on there? He's suspicious. That's our suspicion. What do they know that we don't know? Am I some sort of a tool? So anyway, we're not meant to take it literally. We were, well, beyond a certain point, we're never meant to take it literally. So that those forces who are well enforcing that literalism, especially in this sort of narrow, enclosed, almost suffocated arena. I say suffocated for a reason. Yeah, you got to pay more attention to these organized groups. And I've said it for the longest of times. There's two organized groups. The predominance goes with, well, it's the Jewish group or the Bible literate groups. So ultimately, both connected. And I know there's a lot going on in that neck of the woods at the minute, Jerusalem. And that was mentioned. Peter was heading off to Jerusalem. I'm Peter. My son is Stephen. Everything counts now. I'm telling you that. I showed you my what do you call it the last time? Let me give you this. Let me give you this for consideration. I showed my notepad the last time. I called it ARISTARCHUS. Just jotting down notes and thoughts. Well, Steve, Steve, right? Einstein is one stone, one Stone. You might ask, how does this work in a different language? Don't you fucking worry about it. If you can understand what I'm saying now, you can speak and write English, the English language, in its capital and lowercase form. Well, then you can equate to me because ultimately, yeah, the words and letters are a language. A language are a means of expressing a core idea. We think in pictures. We don't think in letters. When I say cow to you, you don't think in terms of COW. No, you don't. You don't think of the letters. You think of the thing itself, the cow. Right? I can get you to think of a cow with 6 tits. How about that? You just did, didn't you? I made a joke earlier on, and it's true in a sense, but rumpus, and it's not true as well. And I covered my ass in that way. But the rumpus, this faceless, nameless character, this body of signs, well, Paul Bearer at this stage, right? But he always knew the role he was taking. He shared his screen one day, and he had about 400 tabs up there. And I was making the joke that I'm sure I spotted in one of those tabs as he briefly is a flash, and he screamed for 3 or 4 seconds. Midget porn, midget porn tab. But I couldn't be sure at the same time, just to cover my ass, you know. And I'm probably wrong and all that. He's the best that science have to offer. I defeated him years ago. Biggest enemies, in the sense that I've found, are the flat earthers. when you try to express a new idea, when you go towards what actually is, then you're resisted the most. Think of who you like. I think about it the last time, and Dell answered it, and he answered it to me. I wasn't meaning it in that sense. Leave present company out of it. But in terms of all of the major contributors, all of the major um, protagonists in the arena, in terms of flat Earth pushers, can you name? Can you pick on? Can you land on an honest one? It's a difficult question, isn't it? PJ is full of difficult questions. That's why, no one can handle the dodo. I'm afraid, and I'm not afraid at all. I'm not afraid at all. In a sense, it's difficult to sort of be talking to myself. I'm actually looking at myself, so I don't mind that. I better get a sound going, and this can be a bit low, but that should be all right as well. But yeah, a bit of interaction, I get a topic going that would take me in a different direction, but ultimately everything revolving back to the same thing. But the soul of the shoe fell out of the door onto the ground tonight. Very interesting. When we think of the word soul, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? I just showed you. I gave you a direct visual, so I influence your thinking. But there's more than one soul. You know, you consider it yourself, and then the question is, well, why? Is this association made the sound with the thought? Um, is it intentional? We're told that the English language is the bastard child of many different fathers, from ancient Latin to German to the romantic languages of Italian, well, let's Italian, like Spain or Portuguese, whatever. Yeah, but is that the true story? I don't think so. Although, once again, we think of pictures as an objection. Yeah, I've had it many times. How does it work in other languages as well? Because we think of pictures, go into any Masonic lodge earthwide, and you get a basic communicative expression. You'll be able to understand if you're within the inner circle, if you want. The inner circle, which is an interesting term in itself, right? But yeah, I mentioned earlier Einstein was one stone, or one ST1. Look at the word Aristarchus, it's RIST or RCHUS. So all of these letters, because they're transmitting a core truth, right? So their structure reflects the greater direction. That's the best way of putting it. Like children must become. I could bring up, even this is, I mean, I could bring up the 2015 Economist cover magazine again and talk about the hidden puzzle, which is a fantastic discovery. Just to find a hidden puzzle alone, to mind to come to the solution of it. But the key there was to think like children, to go back to a sort of a prior state, not a stupid state. There's no child that's stupid. My child, Stephen, was smarter than me the moment he was conceived. I think smarter, whatever. I don't like using that term, whatever. And I always viewed it that way. He's my father in a way. I'm the stupid son. Went astray. I'm the prodigal son, Steve. I can't think of the sound anyway, so I have to do another sound. It'll have to be low as well, so. What I will do for the next time is I have a few good songs in mind, but I will open with Wild is the Wind by David Bowie. I'm going to love me, love me, love me, love me, love me, love me, say let me fly away with you. For love is like the wind, wild as the wind, wild as the wind. So that'll be for next time, but still can't remember the third song. Let me think of a quick place. Live inside the eye of your mind. Don't you know you might find a better place to be? You said you've never been. All the things that you've seen slowly fade away. So I start a revolution from my bed. As I said the things I had went to my head. Step outside, it's summertime. Stand up beside the fireplace. Take that look from off your face. You ain't gonna burn my heart out. So Sally can wait. She knows it's too late as we're walking on back. So slides away. Don't look back in there. I heard you say. Oh, please don't put your life in blank. Please have a rock and roll band. Throw it all away. You said that you'd never be. All the things that you've seen slowly fade away. So I start a revolution from my bed. I said the brains I had went to my head. Step outside, it's summertime. Stand up beside the fireplace. Take that look from off your feet. What you ever done to bring my heart out? So Sally can wait. She knows it's too late as she's walking on back. I had to manage that somewhat because actually I won't sing that tomorrow. Usually up a key, a whole not a key, a whole octave to begin with. So to get the highest key is a struggle, but you have to sing it out loud. And well, even if I fail, give it a try. I usually get it within one note, which is top note, which is the upper C again. But that's okay. Who's listening? And even if I do embarrass myself, when I do busk, honest to God, I get more love in passing than you would believe. That's all I can say, and I'm most grateful for it. Maybe that's true currency at the end of the day. I don't know. I haven't a penny otherwise. A woman, I mentioned this last time, a kind woman getting €5. I said, I don't deserve that. You don't have to do that. And she just didn't say anything, just handed it to me. And I said, I'm humbled by that. Thank you so much. And another woman, another beautiful woman, gave €8. Just threw them and walked out. Another Sally there, so Sally can wait, not by the Sally Gardens. Ultimately, I think it's all about this material immaterial divide. When Jesus talked in the Gospel and the secret book of James about the forefather, this is our brain. We have a hemisphere, a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere. Hemisphere and hemisphere add up to a sphere, right? But yet I have only half a sphere as a brain. Well, I'm missing the other half, right? I'm missing the other half. Everything sliced down the back like a cattle, like a pig. Like a pig, like in a butcher shop. We come right down the spine. That's what we are in a sense. But in this direction, the spine direction, but also in a spiraling fashion, which is also quite easy to understand in a certain mindset anyway, when we understand that the left brain, when we're not just blind products of evolution, and we're on a flat earth surface where everything has ultimate meaning as opposed to no meaning at all. That's the contrast that was presented to us. But yeah, when we come to understanding, as the story goes, our left brain controls our right side and our right brain controls our left side, and vice versa. What are we to make of that? Well, yeah, that's the material immaterial divide. The head represents the material, and when we think of the four component parts, which is your left and right hemisphere and your female or male counterparts, left and right hemisphere, that gives us four parts, our four father, four God, if you want. And well, if you imagine the two melded together, enclosed, before sprouting, well, you have a pod, don't you? You have this my brain folded down, and funny enough, my chin fits perfectly, almost perfectly in here. It's like we're folded out of one another, and this is what's been referenced. Jesus constantly. That's what came to me now. So I have to listen back to that again. I'm so delighted I listened to it tonight. Um, but yeah, the secret book of James. Because yeah, this is what I've heard constantly referenced, which is this divide. It's not just a twofold divide. It's more than that. Yeah, and I knew that already. It's actually a twofold divide and then a threefold divide. This is what the dodo represents. Dodo is the ultimate twofold divide, do and do. God divided as O-D-O, G-O-D-O-D. Let me ask what the G itself represents. When we think of terms like ground, right? Um, G-spot, um, genitalia, right? So it's all referencing this ultimate divide. First of all, there is the dodo divide, which is one divided from the other, the twofold divide. And then within the twofold divide is a threefold divide. And that's us ultimately. We have the immaterial center, which is the brain, half the brain. Then there's the material center, which is the gut, the genitalia, the regenerative center. And then there is the heart bridge. But everything is half, everything's missing. And then the half is half. The ergot is an expanded and out. Well, what's the word? Inside out. And the easiest way of putting it, brain. So you can see it, right? That's a good way for any children watching. Watching a video in reverse. Everything's just expanded outwards below the heart, and that's why heart and earth and ether are anagrammatical, because that bridge is established, or it's presented to us for establishment anyway. And I'm so happy I listened to that secret book of James again. I think, my friend, that's our final clue. How do we do with that? Well, the longest of times I've been talking about what we do with our vital bodily fluids when we succumb to the material, when we succumb to the lust, when we succumb to the ignorance, in a sense. The spirit, yeah, when we offend the spirit, that's a good, and that's mentioned with it. You're not offending anything outside. You're offending yourself when you cast your pearls before swine. What does it mean? Well, we have an immaterial source, and we have ventured into the material, and there is this conduit. This is it. What do we call it? A wormhole. In a sense, that's what our spine and our spinal fluid is. It's a wormhole filled. It's not vacuous. It's filled. Filled with what? Well, it's filled with tar. Would you believe? T-A-R. Tar, able-bodied semen. The priest studies in the seminary. A priest is celibate. So getting beyond, well, what? The crude and the lewd, this has nothing to do with that. This is the human condition I'm talking about. Remember Jesus talking about being filled? Go back to the Gospel of Thomas, the parting. Let me go back myself and read it. I'll read it for you. I won't bring it up on screen. You can easily bring it up yourself. Let me read the parting gestures. One Gospel of Thomas, secret saying 114, and it's very interesting. IPS, Tim Osmond talks about the 113, which is 113, that code that has been constantly transmitted throughout, and going back 113 years when the symbol SOS came into being in terms of how we currently understand it, sort of an emergency symbol. Well, that was back in 2020. Now it's an extra year on, so it's 114 years since SOS came to be understood and recognized as the international symbol of distress. Now, as a coincidence, Gospel of Thomas features 114 secret sayings of Jesus. Also, 114 is 57 times 2. 57 is 19, 19, 19. 19 is the eighth prime, so we have 888 and 888 to give us 114, if you look at it in that sense. But there's another significance as well, and well, as everything connects, let me read out the 114th uh, secret saying of Jesus from the secret gospel of Thomas, I guess. I mean, how are we going to place any of these things? But anyways, Simon Peter said to him, "Let Mary leave us, for women are not worthy of life." Jesus said, "I myself should lead her in order to make her male." Okay, hang on, let me just get my eyes focused. So that she too may have, so that she may too, okay, let me start again. Simon Peter said to him, "Let Mary leave us, for women are not worthy of life." Terrible thing to say, first of all, right? On the surface, Jesus said, "I myself," and Jesus seems to agree, right? "But I myself shall lead her in order to make her male, so that she too may become a living spirit resembling you males. For every woman who will make herself male will enter the kingdom of heaven." That's the parting gesture from the secret omitted gospel of Thomas. Thomas is the doubting Thomas as well from the greater story. So the 114 also applies to Stanley Kubrick and his secret serum, SRM or CRM, which are covered in a couple of his movies. I bet you actually they probably throughout all of his movies, but 114, so serum 114, if you don't know what I'm talking about there, um, like the Beatles being put forward as the most profound, significant band in the history of music. And of course, there are many contenders as well. Radiohead are up there, and up there for a reason. Mozart is up there as well. Yeah, it's the same on different fronts and different formats. And Stanley Kubrick, in terms of cinematography and greater movie making. What is a movie at the end of the day? What is a film? If you had a limited budget, could you make the greatest blockbuster that ever existed? I think you could. I think you could. That's the wonder of you. That's the wonder of you. If you had all of the resources, laid before you, I think you could. Of course you could. We could do anything. And if you say you couldn't, I'll say to you, well, where's your faith gone? I'll bring you to a maternity hospital and see a little child, and I'll tell you to tell them that. A little child being born. And you couldn't. You couldn't. So, yeah, yeah, Stanley Kubrick is another actor on the stage, and so everything that he has presented is most significant. So, why CRM 114 and SRM, Serum 114, is prevalent? Well, that's a different matter for you to investigate fully. If you want to talk about it, let's come in and talk about it. I solved one of the greatest mysteries going in history, and that is the Paul is dead mystery. You know, I did, and I'll tell you the answer to it. Paul/Fall is the dodo. You mightn't understand that, but I'll tell you someone who does understand that. Paul McCartney, or Paul McCartney does. I reckon they definitely know who I am as well. I'm not, I have no, what do you call it? I have no qualms about thinking that's the case because this arena is so prevalent. You know, whether I mentioned it here earlier on in my show, but IPS, Tim, who took over from Mark Sargent as the chief clue giver, he's on a par and above the likes of Neil Armstrong. Absolutely. Same with Nathan Oakley, Quantum Eraser, the same. With Nathan, with Bob Nodell, Jerry Nuzum, David Weiss. Think about in your own terms. Think about possible future, depending on where you're coming from. But think about a possible future where, well, flat Earth reality does come out, and everyone accepts it wholeheartedly because it's so blatantly obvious in a sense. Well, they'll look back and look at the people who were fighting against the incoming flood. The force of scientism, and they'll put them up on pedestals because they knew what we should have fucking known all along. That we've been lied to. And at every front now, I think the general populace are being made or exposed to the lying, deceptive nature of all the powers that be. I think that's purposeful as well. That's coming into our own powers, into our own. for strengths. But isn't that a very interesting connection here? What do you make of that? Simon, let me read that again because I arsed it up. Simon Peter said to him, "Let Mary leave us, for women are not worthy of her love." Jesus said, "I myself shall lead her in order to make her male, so that she too may become a living spirit resembling you males. For every woman who will make herself male will enter the kingdom of heaven." See, a woman is the vacation. That's what the woman is. If you think about the vital bodily fluids, this is most vital. In the male, it pulls. The woman is a receiver, the male is the giver. In actual fact, we are a half and a half. When the half and a half come together, we have the whole, which is the human child. We corrupt the children. We corrupt the children, and but no more, no more. We won't play our part in any corruption of any children anymore. Very best of our abilities, but this is what Jesus is talking about when he's talking about the head of the wheat sprouting out in the field. It's all about our story, the seed, the sperm and the egg combining. I think the sperm and the egg are inversions of one another, like the brain and the gut, just everything exploded outwards. Everything below the heart is a mirror outwards of everything that's above it. I don't sort of dwell too deeply on that. I sort of intrinsically have that set in my brain. So I'm not about putting out videos one after another trying to prove anything to anyone. As you know, I don't do that because that's not the nature of this game. The truth is already known. Come on, who am I? As Jesus reminded us when we think of the whole history of time, we are just what? Yeah, one in what I heard mentioned on 2001: A Space Odyssey. One in 700 million or 7 billion even, so 7,000 million. In terms of the whole counting up from back in his day, what was that? I'm sure it hasn't changed that much, or maybe it has, but 1969, 68, in terms of the number of people who were said to have lived from the beginning of time. And it turned out, by a strange coincidence, that was the number of stars in our Milky Way. So for everyone who has lived, there's a star in the sky. Isn't that fucking hilarious? I mean, as I'm going through that book, it's about 6 hours long. More and more, I can just see that it's Aristarchus. Aristarchus is the answer. If there's a greater puzzle in play, as there is a greater puzzle in play, Aristarchus is the answer. It's the divided tree of life. And as we are greater than the material, it reflects our divided state. We are male from female and self from self, torn apart in a divided or a spiraling fashion down the spine. The male represents the solidity, the female, the shadow, the space, lacking. But one is no good without the other, because while we both come from the one, we are half. But when Jesus talks about the filling and the lacking, it's this awareness, I think, ultimately, um, of, well, is it all about context? It has to be all about context. It has to be all about context. We were presented the lie to begin with. So it's this context, it's this contrast that it becomes necessary for us to consider the truth or to come to know the truth. No, we're not moving. Back to the question to begin with earlier on: what is Earth? What can you tell me? What is Earth? Who have I to talk to? Anyone I usually talk to about Earth, they don't believe it in the first place, and they can't get involved because there's no way they can respond to me. They wouldn't know how to, and anything that they would be able to respond to, I'd be able to answer very quickly because I'm so long at it. You know what I mean? But yeah, where does that leave us in terms of this chat here? Well, back to 114, which is 888. So very interesting as well. So 114, which is 57 and 57, which is 1919 and 19, 19, 19 and 19. which 19 being the eighth prime, which is 888, right? And it turns out that 888 and 888 is 1776, which is the year of, the Declaration of Independence for the United States of America. So now interesting, July the 4th as well, which is 7-4 or 4-7, depending where you're at, which is very interesting. I'm 49 now, which is 7-7, which can be looked at as two sevens. I'm half the man I used to be. So 4-7s. A date that I'm all out of dates and all out of whatever. Yeah. But there's two, July the 4th, and before that, the 21st of June. Getting that connects back to Stanley Kubrick as well. In the movie 2001: Space Odyssey, so Stanley Kubrick has decided to be designated the role of the greatest movie director of all time within this greater setting, this greater scenario. Um, yeah, when did the movie come out? Well, it turns out that the movie came out April 2nd, theatrical release. Funny the term itself, TH. We started on TH with the to take the sword from the stone, to take the S tone, uh, and the S word apart, which is TH and INS, right? THIS is this. This is it. That's the concert that Michael, or the tour that Michael Jackson left us with, but never got to perform before actually faking his death, obviously, and returning, which you might have known as the Five Alive Dodos, so another Dodo reference. So Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney, Paul McCartney, are connected via the Dodo. We also find out that Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson had a bitter feud regarding the copyright rights to the Beatles catalog. Again, more scripted stuff, and the connection is made. So make of that what you will. But yeah, getting back to 114, 57, 19, 8, the eighth prime number, PRI, it goes back, everything goes back to pi, by the way. When I talk about a Bell Earth, don't get me talking about the Bell Earth as well, but it's fair enough. If we live on a tree stump, you drain all the Earth's oceans away, right? Then the land sticks above the invading waters at its deepest point, 7.6 miles, close enough to 8 miles at the Mariana Trench. But the Atlantic Ocean, all pretty deep. Once you leave the land, all pretty deep. But what you see or what emerges is a tree stump when you drain all those waters, invading waters away. When they're all filled in, you have a giant whirlpool at the north. So what I think is happening is, mad to say it, right? Mad to say it, but come along and tell me your picture, Dan. Come along and paint your vision. But mad to say it, we live in a massive tree stump, and at the center we have a hollow. If you think of a bell inverted, a bell, right? A bell inverted, and you have the rim on the outside. This is what we sort of live on the outside of the north center, where everything hollows down inwards. But we have sticking through the root from the other side, where the tree is intact, this, what are you going to call it, this appendage, and this is what's giving us the divine energies. This is the thing that it's like a fucking process, if you want. So we have the Mother Earth at the top, the hollow at the center, the vagina, the fanny, the cunt, right? So we all live on cunt trees. And then coming through from the other side is the father, right? This is the heart, right? So from the father, from the other side, where everything's intact, everything is relatively in natural orientation, but then we have this influence. So yeah, not to dwell too much on it, but when we put ourselves as flat earthers, flat section earthers, we understand that everything above us moves in seeming unison. When we replace the vacuum of space with something, the most obvious answer is saline waters. So, what's withholding saline waters from Earth realm? These central energy sources, but we understand we're in a destroyed state. We're living on the stump of the tree of life. So everything's collapsed. and we're looking fundamentally at a mirror sky, a mirror reflection of what is expressing from below, and that's my best way of understanding it. And Earth breathes. We're like in a big bubble. We're like in a big womb, in a bigger sense. What's going on beyond? Don't even worry too much about that. It's like um, it's like a venture into a holodeck. I hold fundamentally we're still in Genesis 1, and ultimately beyond that we're outside of the book, because in the beginning of the word, but a word cannot just materialize. What is a word? So yeah, well, this is a story of our venture into this realm. But yeah, outside of Genesis 1, we're well, whatever. We're trying to we're it's all just an experience. But yeah, an experience within an experience, that would make more sense. In Genesis 2, here we have ventured into a state of division. And as we are greater than the material, we are immaterial of source. Well, the material reflects us, a broken earth, broken heart. How to mend a broken heart? Well, recognition is the first thing, isn't it? And knowledge. This is what Jesus points to, the secret words of Jesus. I mean, you never heard him speaking like that in the gospel, like you heard him. Excuse me. That was a cough. That was a cough. Now, and it was like, yeah, it was a mix between a good cough and a good sneeze, and I got halfway between. So I should punch myself a few times to sort myself out. See, I mentioned Jesus too many times. I never mean any disrespect. There's a statue of Jesus outside in the hallway here, and I don't mean any hypocrisy as well at the same time. But I touch his foot in reverence of the idea and the notion and the thought. So you know, don't be taking any offense at what I have to say. Um, yeah, so that's interesting. You see the way I can sort of go on and on about certain topics, and it's not even that's me going back to stuff I've already talked about. But we have to talk about something. If anyone fancies again a little chat, let me know. I don't mind these 2 hour little outbursts, I guess, if you want to put it like that. Of course, we're restricted as well in terms of what you can really talk about, but that's okay. Covered it all before to greater or lesser extent. Um, let me just recap about Stanley Kubrick. So, being placed in such a prominent position, well, what's his masterpiece? Well, it's 2001: Space Odyssey. Even though I think Eyes Wide Shut is what they're all significant. Eyes Wide Shut is most significant. Stanley Kubrick faked his death and worked on 9/11. So 9/11 was his masterpiece in a big way. And whatever else maybe he's been involved in afterwards, he's still alive. Remember his wife, Christine. Christine, come on. Aristarchus and Anagrams. C. Arthur as is. Arthur C. Clarke, co-writer of 2001: Space Odyssey, the book, but Kubrick always had the bottom line, the last word. So more clues for us. But Kubrick's wife been involved with something happened, something strange. Was it something strange happened on the way to the moon, and introducing this whole sort of obviously blatant and represented notion that a whole lot of fakery is going on. There's a whole lot of fakery going on. There's a whole lot of fakery going on. There's a whole lot of fakery. There's a whole lot of fakery. There's a whole lot of fakery going on. There's a whole lot of fakery going on. So whatever. I try to keep everything as simple as I can. I'm working on a song at the minute from Steve, and just I can't express it via the word. How does a word do in terms of representation of the thought? Very poorly in a sense. So when the Gospel of John talks about in the beginning was the Word, it's those words are specifically chosen in the beginning. I am is most significant as well. I am. N in relation to H. So we're already told you're in a divided state. Um, you're entering a divided realm. But in the beginning was the word. The word can. What precedes the word? What necessarily precedes the word? But there's a whole lot of things going on. There's a whole lot of things going on. There's a whole lot of figures. 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 A whole lot of figures going on. I could make the song again. Oh yes, there's a whole lot of figures going on. There's a whole lot of figures going on. There's a whole lot of figures. A whole lot of figures. A whole lot of figures. A whole lot of figures going on. Because there is. Everything is fake. Gives the Borg away is that they. I labeled them years ago the anti-conspiracy crew. Got to know who you're dealing with here. Know your enemy before you know your friend. Because only by knowing one do you have to find out the other, right? But yeah, they're anti. You mentioned anti-conspiracy at all. They're mainstream, um, official story, singing from the same hymn sheet, Borg antagonists, and they give the game away so early doors. And yeah, it was meant to be given away, and to understand that that's not the end of the struggle here, the puzzle here. But yeah, let me go into Chad. I'm not going to stay on too much longer. Even though I could, this all came about because Doom was in, and I just mentioned about the moon the last time. Doom Moon. Like I said, everything connects. Everything is back. The most mysterious crater on the moon, the nearest neighbor in a flat Earth sense, is named particularly and specifically crater Aristarchus. The moon is said to be the most mysterious object in our universe. So if it's all a game of connect the dots, well, all dots lead to Aristarchus, and well, even pi goes back to Aristarchus as well in terms of its motion. If you think about pi, and what it actually represents, first of all, in a ethereal sense, in a thought processing sense, and then in a practical sense, in a material sense, what does it represent to you? It's a genuine question. You got to think about this stuff, right? That's why it's placed so predominantly in our reality. Our spine. We have a spine. 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 Pi is in there. Pi is a certain relationship. When we think about what these basic terms are, think about what words are, when we think about what symbols are, letters, numbers, what did it have to say about us? And everything has to say everything about us because, once again, we are greater than the material. We understand everything. We overstand everything. So, what does it have to say about us? Well, you tell me. You say hello to High Plains Drafter. Is that drafter or drifter? You a grifter? High Plains Grifter. I'm going to call you Grifter from here on in. Ask me a question if you want. I should get the message. What a clueless fool's fool. Okay, hang on. Let me get the previous question. Shame on you. Let me put it on screen, man. Let me give you a chance if that's your first comment here. So let's get a bit of context. Generally, isn't anyone here? There's 4 people here now. That's okay. I don't mind. I do these. I talk to myself mostly here. So it says, shame on you pissing on such a beautiful folk song. And if you believe for one moment that Joan Baez is a flat earther, you're 100% full of crap. Shake my head. Joan Baez? So maybe she sang that song. Hang on, let me think about what's the song I sang now? Who are you talking to? You talking to me? What song did I sing there? The reason I know there's an association between Joan Baez and Bob Dylan, and I'm singing a few Bob Dylan songs as I'm prone to. But what song did I just sing? Let me think about that. that's going to take. Let me think about what I can't even fucking remember what song I sang there. So let me get back to that. Obviously, you're passionate about that. Passionate about your feelings here and how I let you down in the sense, or let Joan Baez down. So that's fair enough. I don't ever mention Joan Baez being a flat earther. Bob Dylan is certainly a flat earther, and I'm sure certain Joan Baez is a flat earther. In the know, they're all in the know. So I never mentioned that. If you're relating that to someone else, a high plane drifter, a drafter, well, I don't think so. But if you are, well, let them answer in kind. And if you're not, well, what are you? What are you? You know, who are you? Um, I noticed the big capital letter H within the O for your avatar there, which is home, HOME. Did you see the Eurovision contest there during the week? It was hosted from Israel. There was no fucker, excuse me, there was no one going around wearing a mask anymore. Everyone was sort of seemingly sufficiently vaccinated, so no need for masks and no masks, and everyone was drinking away and in adjacent company, in a big auditorium with a big weird selection. Two trannies, it looked like to me, who were presenting the whole show. It was a Cirque du Soleil, just a Rocky Horror show. Not in the sense, Rocky Horror Show, but we see the beauty and everything. The Irish song came on. I knew so little bits of it, but the Irish song came on. And I was confused to begin with. But as it went on, I got the idea, I got the message. The message was, the theme of the whole thing, the presentation was home, HOME. So High Plains Drafter. Let's try to code your name because you're so free with what are you trying to make me do? Feel bad about myself? You can't do that. I've embarrassed myself in more ways than you'll ever know. But you get over it, right? Think about the most embarrassing moment in your life. What are you going to do? Dwell in it? Will I remind you to dwell in it? You know? So don't worry about that. I have to think about it. I'm going to look from the smoke in the cupboard. I'm going to have a piss and not necessarily that order. And let's see what you have to say about that if you're still here. The link, let me post the link in chat if you want. I should stay on for another half an hour because this is the Thursday night out for me. So I'm just having a chat to somebody neighboring in the pub. I'm not presenting any message to you. Everything I probably had to say, I've said it by now, although there's a few things as well. 1776, July 4th is very interesting, but June 21st is also very interesting, which is why I talked about Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick changed Saturn to Jupiter within the movie representation of the so-called novel, but they were both sort of developed at the same time, with Kubrick having predominance, I guess. And this is delivered to us in terms of the narrative. But why did he do that? Well, the movie was released in theatrical form on April 2nd, 1968, which is the day after April 1st, which is the real New Year's beginning, which is Fool's Day or Dodo's Day, right? Who mentioned Fool's Fool? Did you mention, someone mentioned Fool's Fool? I heard it earlier. You're a Fool's Fool. I saw it. It's not the countdown, it's just on screen there. Someone mentioned Fool's Fool. Where did I get that from? Oh, here it is. Look there. Yeah, there we go. What a clueless fool's fool. I don't mind being a fool's fool, man. I don't mind being a fool's fool. Um, there's a link I posted in chat. If you want to, how easy would it be for you to challenge a fool's fool and defeat fool's fool? Yeah. If I'm a fool's fool, what are you? Simple question. I don't know you, so are you a fool's fool as well? You fool? It implies that, like, you're sort of a double fool. Because you're not just a fool, you're a fool's fool. So you're the fool of a fool. Hmm. When I went to England, first of all, when I was 17, worked on the building sites, there was a good bit of this racism. Just the very fact you were from Ireland, you had a specific accent, you were just treated as a dumbass. It's pretty bad sometimes. What are you going to do as a young fella, and you're dealing with all these seasoned geezers. Seasoned geezers. That's another. That's a good one. I make note of that. Seasoned geezers. Yeah, intimidating and such. You have to do all the lower down jobs. But I knew I wasn't a fool. I knew I wasn't a fool, and I knew eventually, just by being myself, and by, what having not having faith in the sense, it's just knowing that they rushed to misjudgment. They would eventually find out that I wasn't a fool at all, and they did, of course, at all times. Now it takes less and less time. I've honed it over the years, not intentionally, but just by natural development. That anybody who thinks I'm a fool will soon have to drop that within what 5 or 10 minutes. I don't know. Pretty much everyone who respects me up to a certain point loses contact or touch with me after I tell them that Barack Obama played the role of Osama bin Laden, but Will Smith played the role of both. So yeah, pretty much I lose everyone there at that point. That's okay. Does that mean I'm a fool though? Well, you tell me what it is, and you know, for the most part, I'll be able to tell you that what you tell me what it is, I used to accept wholeheartedly, but I came to stray away. But otherwise, I'm open to suggestion. Is that the way you feel? Um, what do I think about? Hang on. I think about Simon Dan. Did you ask? I think it's well, Simon Dan is like a Blue Peter presenter, isn't he? He's a blue Simon Dan debunking flirts. He's a Blue Peter presenter. Nathan Oakley is also associated with Blue Peter presenter. You see very similar traits to all of them. Um, Rumpus included, Conspiracy Cats. They're all actors on the stage. Simon Dan offers his own clues in his own ways. I don't pay attention too much. None of those people can answer any of my questions. No flat earthers, for the most part, can answer any of my questions as well. So I'm well used to that. But look, both sides are put in place, and um, I guess the equivalent of Nathan Oakley would it be Simon Dan? Maybe more so Conspiracy Cats at this stage because he interacts more. Although Nathan Oakley doesn't interact too much, and never has done as well. But yeah, he no, yeah, Conspiracy Cats would be his counterpart. Simon Dan, no good, probably 1-1. But you know, plenty of clues presented. It's just information presented to you, and what you consider with your own brain, then depending on your own motivations. Understanding you have to, yeah, but this whole arena is rigged. You have no friends in the big sense, but that's the nature of it, right? So that's what I think about. What do you think about Charles Manson, Eight Atwa? Well, Charles Manson, back in 2013, well, I don't know how to pronounce your name there. I'm going to call it, let me Okuduwala. 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 Okuduwala? No, not Okudu. Okuduwala. 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 Right, that's it, I have it. Okuduwala. Okuduwala. Yeah, what do you think about Charles Manson, ATWA? So, Kuala asks, just in case you don't speak the same language here, asks, what do you think about Charles Manson Atwa? That's a good war asking that. I would say, well, back in 2013, this is genuine. Look this up. I did a thread over on Above Top Secret which exposed for certain Charles Manson and George W. Bush are one and the same. George W. Bush is a genius actor. He played the fool for 9/11. He played the fool. He played he played the deranged organizer of the Syrian killing for Charles Manson. And well, who knows how many other parts he's played as well. So I don't know what the Atwa means, but Atwa is very interesting. Atman brings Atman. Man, matter, water, Adwa. That's interesting now. So I'd have to look that up. I'm not sure if you want to. If it ATWA stands for something very specific to Charles Manson, um, please put it in chat. But here it seems more significant to me, symbolically significant, considering the Batman and the China and the Bat and all that sort of stuff, and how significant AT is and Atman. But so thanks for coming, Woodruwa. Uh, okay, you might be talking to someone else. Well, let me not hide away from you. I blocked you. I mean, fucking hell. I'd like to do that as well, but at some point, I have no contacts left on Discord or pretty much Skype as well. One or two, that's all. And yeah, at a certain point, you get sick of all the repetition, all of the actors, all of the. I'm not going to call them fakes. I call them fakes in the sense disingenuous. They're not expressing the whole truth and nothing but the truth. They're not on their own sort of search and expressing that. Um, you know, but if you want me to unblock him, I'll happily do that. And don't take any offense by that. I think it was something to do with you and John Watson as well. I just had a run-in with both of you and realized that you were both in the same sort of boat from the start, as you know, two consistent characters who haven't changed their um, spiel from the outside, which is not a bad spiel. Don't get me wrong. Simon Dan says, like the path of sailing around the world, mashing the globe, like stars mashing the globe, like all planet moons mashing. Come on, man, get the heck out of here with your lump of shit avatar. If you're serious in those feigned objections, your surface is flat, so the sky is contoured, and everything we see, all skylights in the sky, are reflections off of this contoured, watery, mirror-like barrier. It's an energized barrier, but because it's a broken state, we have a reflected energy, which we know as ether, which of course Simon Dan and all his followers, just like Nathan Oakley and QE, deny, because there's no ether. Whereas without ether, well, nothing vibrates. Nothing vibrates. And everything has a frequency. Entropy is said, the cause of entropy can never be sorted. Of course it can. Ether. It's all about applied energy. It's all about applied energy. It's simple as that. Because ether is denied, well, then science, as is offered us, right? The body of science, the historic giants of science and the culmination of their greater efforts, well, it has to be denied then. Well, so what? So what? Ether is a thing. What is the source of ether? ARISTARCHUS, ether starchus. The tree of life is cut. The tree is intact the other side, and the root is jutting true. Sounds ridiculous, right? But you tell me a different story. This root moves in three different ways in the waters, the invading waters, giant whirlpool at the north, um, the mother's waters breaking the mother's waters, right? But yeah, it moves in three ways, round and around, like as you imagine water going down the drain, in and out, and up and down, in a fucking manner, right? How did any of us get here? But it via fucking manner. It has to reflect back to us. Remember, because we're greater than the material. The immaterial is greater than the material, but everything connects through the heart, through the earth, through the ether. So yeah, people like Simon Land debunking Flirt series is a deliberate, sort of obvious troll as well for reasons, and as if he's not smart enough to consider what we consider. Anyway, but that's the round and round motion represents the reflected motion of the skylights on a day-to-day basis. The in and out is a monthly basis. This is what gives us the moon 14 days in, 14 is out, 14 days in. So this gives us the moon phases. And, well, on an annual basis, then we have the up and down motion. right? So all of these in tandem at a similar period, we can see a great spiral. And if you know the representation of, in a Bowler sense, Simon Dan, the Flurfs, we have the sun and all of the planets and the Earth rotating around in a little sperm-like fashion, little spiraling helix DNA type fashion, jetting through the universe at astronomical speeds. And that's just a picture of the sun itself, not to mind the galaxy and its rotational accelerations, not to mind the greater mother galaxy beyond that, and then the grandfather galaxy within the greater universal segment, quadrant, whatever. And let me go to the toilet and finish my beer and finish that smoke in the cupboard as well. Not necessarily in that order. I feel like a child, and I'm expecting a shout upstairs in the name of it. Are you masturbating in the cupboard again? But yeah, I am. I was smoking a doobie. I am. Sorry, you got me. Anyway, yes, I remember the song. Simon debunking Fleur's bullshit. Yeah, it was Sally. Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis, and it did connect to down by the Sally Gardens. So Sal is what is Sal? Salt of the earth, right? Mother Earth. So it's getting back to the Eve L. Look at the L. Look at the L, right? So you have the spine and the lower bias. If we have the upper bias, we have this, which is the R, and then connected on both sides, we have the T. That's why truth is TRUTH. So it's letting us know about our basic constitution, your basic constitution. Your mind, Simon Dan, debunking Flirs, decides to do, and decides to write what you write. It's not very cordial. It's always antagonistic, and it goes against the sort of the greater message that's been presented by the scientific community, governmental communities at large, which is tolerance and, well, forbearance. So, okay, that's why I don't get involved in chat too often because you're just getting embroiled in. If anyone has a serious question, well, Doombot, I've seen you before. Pyramid map. So the question or the comment I just first came upon is after my after my venture out of the wardrobe. So that's a brilliant idea. Next time is to bring the what do you call it, the suitcase into the wardrobe and smoke upwards. So all the smoke collates and collects inside the suitcase, inside the wardrobe, and you can just close it up. Pretty airtight zips. And when you want to top up them, I can just drill a little hole, put a straw in, suck it up like a bong, and brilliant. Imagine I did that for a month, and I left the smoke from a good joint a month prior. What would you call it? Congeal, intensify within the suitcase. Oh man, that's a brilliant idea. Anyway, pyramids match up to the stars, right? Right. Well, the pyramids aren't mentioned in the Bible, which is most peculiar, considering we marvel not just of an old age, but of a new age as well. My reasoning is that they weren't built yet. The Bible was written in 1611 by the same hands that wrote the works of Shakespeare. So the pyramids were built a later date to line up with the stars, and the stars are not far away. The stars are right there. I can see the Orion's belt, not so much anymore now, but as we're moving into a different season, as Aristarchus. Now, here's a question: this piston-like movement, around and around, in and out, up and down, in the northern aspect here, are we in the midst of Aristarchus rising or Aristarchus falling as we're coming towards summertime? It's May time here in Ireland. That's a question for you to answer. Because remember, Simon Dan, if the earth doesn't move, something does move. And maybe it is part of the earth, in the sense earth does move. If we take away the ball earth and see it as metaphor, then we can see that these different various and sundry movements attached to the ball earth can now be attributed to, well, the central source. And, well, round and round, like a whirlpool, in and out, like a whirlpool, and up and down, like a whirlpool. So that's the question. As we're moving into summer at the northern aspect, what's happening at the center? That's the question. Remember, my clue to you is everything is reversed. So, uh, you do not understand the analogy. Well, probably not, because I don't know you, right? So everything is capable of being taken out of context, which I always allow for. That's why I put in the link in chat and invited you to come in and explain it better. But I'll go through another comment or two and see what you have to say. Yeah, where did that's what threw me off? Joan Baez, which is a very interesting tangent in itself, considering that it does connect to Bob Dylan. And Bob Dylan, well, there's not just one Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan's corporation. There's three Bob Dylans, but the one we have now is the one that's been there. I think it in there since 1976. Blood on the tracks. There's been a few before him, but well, yeah, it depends on what you believe, Doom. You say as does all the megalithic stuff. All right, it all points to the star. So, but I mean, what credence do you give to its historicity? You want to swear by? I just gave you my point of view there on the pyramids, why they're not mentioned in the Bible because they weren't built yet. So, if we live in a construct, which I seem to do, this Earth in its current divided form is 423 years old. Would you believe that? 1598 was year 01. 0/1 depends when you're going to count from. Um, but yeah, it's all constructual, metaphysical reality. I coined a new term with the understanding that we live in a metaphysical, uh, yeah, reality, and that the truth is transmitted via metaphor. The term is metaphorsics. Metaphorsics rules. So yeah, that takes a longer conversation. Well, okay, so Simon Dan debunking. Well, I look outside to. I rent myself. Do you rent yourself? Okay. Sky is still used as navigational tool, and all sailors use the globe maps. No, they don't. No, they don't. All maps are local ordnance maps. The only time you get to the spherical polar coordinate system is, well, but in theory, it's when it's presented as an overview of everything to say the Earth is. Look at local ordnance maps for your local area, extended to your local shire, county, extended to your local country. It's all ordnance grid-like coordinate maps, um grid-like Cartesian coordinate systems. And I said this years ago. Um, that's not doubted. It's not doubted. It's only when you move beyond sort of national boundaries into international considerations that this vagity that doesn't apply to everyday uh, transitions, I guess, movement from A to B doesn't apply. Pilots don't use this. Pilots have a straight line trajectory, or they follow a certain path in relation to the north, which is very interesting in itself. I don't want to get talking about that because I spoke about all of this before. Everything is gauged in terms of the north center because that's where ARISTARCHUS emanates from. So all compass needles point towards the north. The southern sky is a reflection of the northern sky because the outer barrier we're under, when we're a collapsed bubble, we're in a collapsed state, begins low at the north, highest at its equatorial areas, and lowest at the southern peripheral. So think about looking up at the underside of a spoon. We're getting that sort of level of reflection. I've showed it many times. I'll show it again. I'll show it again. Very similar to this. When you put an object, let me put something you recognize. This is a screwdriver. So if you don't know what you're looking at, first of all, and you don't have the proper context, you're going to misrepresent everything, misunderstand everything. It's the point of life in the first place. Born into misunderstanding, born into foreign land, taught a foreign language, foreign food for a specific purpose, right? From unity into division for the purposes of reunification. So when we have a look at think of what we're seeing, it's obviously reflecting back the screen, but you can see it's reflecting back what you can see here, right? Let me get it in the proper. So if I put this is the screwdriver, if I put the screwdriver in a certain position, think about where you see it reflecting. If I swirl it around like this, if I move it closer to the center and I swirl it around, what are you seeing? And actually, this ties into I'm arsing it up now because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. As I move more towards the rim and turn it around, rotate it around, what are you seeing in relation to if I move it closer to the center and I rotate it around? This ultimately ties back into the question the question I just asked. Which has anyone answered in chat for the question I just asked? Which is in the northern aspect, as we're coming towards summer, is in this frame of mind what's causing these skylights and what's causing this changing of seasons is it moving upwards or downwards. And I did remind you everything was counterintuitive, everything's inverse. We're all of us in underland. So yeah, that's an easy thing to say, but you're wrong there, Simon. They don't. They don't. And why can't you be yourself anyway without being somebody else? I'll go down to the bottom of chat because I can see there's a lot of actors, role players in chat tonight. That's okay. I don't know when the last time I gave out wrenches. Yeah, that's okay. It doesn't matter. All roads lead to Aristarchus, to the divided tree of life. That's the way it's so designated. And that's the external story. But we are of a family tree. We have ancestry. We are trees in the sense we have limbs, we have veins, we have roots, we have spines, we have hearts. A tree is a heartwood. But yeah, once again, we're divided. Why is 888 the number of Jesus? That's an interesting one. Look at the 8 and every axis that's mirrored. We have mirroring axes as well. 2 out of 3 are easy to find. The third is not so easy to find. But I already gave it away tonight. So these are the divisions we need to recognize, and we need to mend. We need to bridge the divide. And ultimately, best I can reckon, it comes back to what you do with your vital bodily fluids. It's the best I can reckon. And why would Peter say women don't deserve life? Not to mind, women don't deserve a place in heaven, but don't deserve life? Well, Jesus said, I will make woman man. I will make woman male. So I will fill the woman. Once the woman is void, the devil wears Prada, isn't it? Prada. Eve, L, Mother Earth, right? Salt of the earth, yes, Sal, salt of the earth. But what is the earth? That's the question. And that's funny enough, it's a good place to leave it. What is the earth? What is earth? That's the question I entered with. And there's no takers on it, just scoffers and mockers in the chat, but they in their own way are playing their roles, they're giving you clues, they're making certain things obvious, and you as the individual can grapple with what they have to say, but bearing in mind the possibility that they're all actors acting on the stage to egg you on and to maybe lead you towards a greater inexorable truth that they are privy to already. I think ultimately it's something like that might be going on. But as far as I'm aware, I'll leave it on this. As far as I'm aware, and I can see how it would be so difficult and it's almost fiendish to come to the conclusion. But yeah, Aristarchus, if there's a greater metascript in play here, Aristarchus is very close to the ultimate answer, if not the ultimate answer, within the context that I offer as well. So yeah, I'd love to play another song. I should come on. What am I on? 3 hours is about perfect. So perfect time to leave it. I should come on a bit earlier, and I can blast on a few more songs as well. And I guarantee you, the minute I leave here now, I'll think of the third song I was set to play tonight. But it isn't coming to me right now. In the meantime, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the little chat. And yeah, I hope you take care of yourself. And until the next time, all well to all. I love you, Misty.